Hi, I'm Fritz with Argo Adventure. Today we have the 2021 Frontier 600 6x6, which is Argo's entry-level model in the six-wheeler. We will start with basically the dimensions and weight of this vehicle. From your outside width, you're going to be just under 5 foot wide, and you're going to, from the front end of the vehicle to the rear end of the vehicle, basically they measure from the bumper. It's actually exactly 8 foot or 96 inches for your length. Your weight on the Frontier 600 is going to come in at about, by the time you put gas and stuff in it, you're going to come in at about 1,000 pounds. Now we're going to start off with the lower part of the vehicle. I'm going to get down here. I want to point out a couple things. So first off, the body on this vehicle is a high-density polyethylene, and it has a very high oil content, and it's very durable. The body itself is about 1/4 inch thick, and it also has this extra skid plate. The skid plate comes up about, 8 inches on here, and it runs the full length of the vehicle. And dealing with, if you've got a lot of logs or rocks and that type of stuff for rugged terrain, it will help really keep your vehicle a lot nicer. You don't have to worry about punching a hole in it or having problems that way. As we walk our way around, we'll come to the tires. Now, this is Argo's tire. It is a 24-inch tall by 10-inch wide, and it is on an 8-inch steel offset rim. Speed-wise, this vehicle will run, I'm going to say that 18 to 22 mile an hour, and it's going to depend on the gear ratio and the transmission in high range, and it'll run probably 10 to 15 mile an hour in low range. And when I'm talking gear ratio, the transmission, you can get them with a high output transmission or a standard transmission, and that's just call the shop and we'll walk you through that if you have questions. The steel offset rim, the benefit of this is you can actually, for those of you that are running tracks, and these vehicles can all be tracked, you can take this vehicle or the tires off and flip them from the other side, and being offset, it will move it out about 2 to 2.5 inches, which allows track clearance. So the steel offset rim, it's a really nice deal, and it's on all of the Argos now. Also, I want to point out the nature of the tread design. This vehicle, when in water, the tires will propel you right at 3 mile an hour. And it doesn't really matter if you're in low range or high range, 3 mile an hour is going to be your top speed. In water, that is. We'll work our way to the back end of the vehicle. So really the back end, we've got a couple characteristics we need to point out. One is the trailer hitch. It is a standard 2-inch receiver, so it'll be the same as all your automotive style. If you've got a receiver in your pickup, it'll slide in. It's the same pin size and everything. We do have a couple tie downs back here, and then also I've got one drain plug screwed out here. There's 2 drain plugs, one here and one here on the back of the vehicle. This would be for when you're washing the vehicle, or if you were in the water in a big wave, slop 10 gallon of water in it and you're done for the day. You can put it at an angle at a little bit of an incline on a hillside, open these plugs, and the water will drain out here. And note, this is the height of your skid plate that comes all the way around. And this is what we talked about up front. So I think that covers that. Okay, so we're going to get to the engine compartment. To pop the hood, we have a couple handy little latches you can just kick up, and it's as simple as lifting the hood up and it will fold back out of your way. Under the hood, basically the throat of this little vehicle, we've got the guts rather, we've got an 18 horsepower Briggs & Stratton Vanguard engine. Now this is a carbureted motor, it is not fuel injected, so for those of you that maybe don't understand fuel injection, it's like your lawnmower. Most lawnmowers, most of it, the older ones anyway, you got to pull a choke to start them, and this is the way this engine is. So we have our engine oil dipstick check. Our transmission is up here, and you can check your transmission quite easily. There's just a yellow dipstick there. 12-volt battery is mounted up under the hood on all the new models. We have this little canister is on all of the Frontier models. This is, you have to order them specific, but it's for California emissions. This little gadget there is what makes them legal to use in California. So if you're in California, we got you covered. We also have a CVT clutch. Basically, it's a continuous variable speed clutch that transfers the power from the engine to the transmission. And that's a pretty good basic overview of your engine compartment. Okay, so in the interior compartment of this vehicle, I think I'm going to start over here with the Argo progressive steering. So Argo had hazed brake design steering to basically optimize, I guess, the performance, so to speak, of your steering. And for those of you that have never been in an Argo, when you turn the handlebars, you're braking to either the right or the left, and that's all the farther the handlebars turn. Now, if you notice, see how that kind of springs back? That's what the progressive steering does. And how do I say it? When you're driving the vehicle, it just, you don't feel like you're braking it so much when you steer with the progressive steering. So that's the benefit of that. Now, short of that, we've got your regular ignition key is down here on the dash. For starting the vehicle in 2021, you turn it on, you pull the brake, there's a hand brake here, and it starts basically like all your ATVs, all your four-wheelers and stuff. You pull the brake and it's just push button start, and away you go. Now, on the carbureted motor, which this is, we do have a choke here on the dash, so if you needed to use a choke for cold temperatures, you'd pull the choke and turn it over and start. One cool thing that they have for 2021, and they started this here a year or so back on the new models, is we no longer have the twist grip throttle. It is a finger throttle. So there's been a ton of people always want the finger throttle for driving it, so giving it the gas is right here. And that's a really nice feature, and everybody seems to love it. On the dash here, we've got this vehicle comes standard with a bilge pump, so there's a switch there to run the bilge pump. You've got a little, I don't know if you'd call it, it's a little digital gauge. It gives you your RPMs, your speed, that type of stuff. We've got a little 12-volt plug here, and these little plugs would be for other accessories. So say you put a winch on it, or you end up with the top and a windshield wiper, the little rocker switches would go in the dash here. I also want to point out this is our park brake. On these vehicles, if you were trailering it, or you go out and you're hunting in the field and you're on the side of a hill, you can pull this brake and it will lock the tires so your vehicle doesn't roll down the hill. When I go a little farther down, now I have the bolts out of this firewall because we're going to take this out in a minute to show you serviceability, because normally this would be tucked in a little bit. But your transmission shifter is here, and if you look on the dash here, they have a little schematic. You can go low range, high range, neutral, or reverse. And again, the speed kind of depends on which transmission you have in the vehicle. As we go farther down, the newer Frontiers do have a flat floor pan, which is really nice. The older ones, they kind of dipped in and out, and this is just a nice deal. When you set in the vehicle, your feet are nice and flat. Get to the seat. Seat folds up. Since they've moved the battery on the new models to up under the dash, there's a fair amount of storage under here for whether you wanted, I don't know, maybe a few tools, or I don't know, I've seen guys put little lunch boxes or a few spare parts, whatever the case. There is a fair amount of storage under the seat on all of the new vehicles. As we go back to the back compartment, basically this has got the same style floor pan as all of the older vehicles did have. So it kind of drops down. It's not a flat floor pan in the six-wheel Frontier, but you know, it comes out really easy. This here is your gas tank, which is directly under your seat or under your storage compartment. It's going to hold about 7 gallons of gas with the fill cap just off to the right-hand side here. Now, with that being said, you have 2 little seats in the back that will seat 2 people, and I do want to go through this. I'm going to sit in the back of the vehicle and in the front of the vehicle. So I'm about 5'11". This will give you a really good idea of what you've got for room back here. Now, typically a couple kids will fit back here really easy. A couple adults, you're probably going to be banging your knees, but nonetheless, 2 adults can fit in the back. There is adequate room. Now, keep in mind, if you were going to go on water, the 6-wheeler really will only float 2 people. You wouldn't want a load in the back of the vehicle. I also want to get in the front of the vehicle. And again, this is, stress this, I'm about 5'11". For those of you out there that are tall, we get the question all the time, oh, a big guy couldn't fit in there. And if you notice, my knees are a long ways from the dash there. You will be surprised how much room you have, especially the way the new ones are designed. They just have a ton of room from that. And last but not least, on the dash compartment, when I'm sitting here, you do have a cup holder on each side of this vehicle that I didn't point out, as well as a couple grab rails for the passenger. The driver is going to be holding onto the handlebars, but you will use them to access to get in and out of the vehicle. Lastly, what we're going to look at on this thing is I want to pull the hood and I want to pull the floor pans out, and I just want to take a brief look at the drivetrain. And this would be, more than anything, this is for the serviceability of the vehicle. So the hoods on these, you can fold them back like that if you want, but you can pick it up, just tap it, it'll come right off. And it gives you full access to your engine compartment. Now, on all of the new models, you will need a 1/2-inch socket and a 3/16 Allen wrench. Now, I've got the one that'll go on a ratchet. There's going to be 5 1/2-inch bolts, or they will take a 1/2-inch socket bolts for the firewall, and there will be 4 down below here on the floor pan that are a 3/16 Allen head, and I've taken them out already, this for speed for this video. So basically, firewall will just completely lift out of there. Our rear floor pan, same thing, just lifts up out of there. And then in the rear compartment, this one is just slightly different. There is some little plastic tabs that they may not show up real well, but you have a finger hole in the back. If you pull up on that finger pull and just lightly tap with your fist on each side, that floor pan will lift right out of there. Once that is out of there, you can see your final drive, which is a chain drive. You have access to your bearing, your grease points, all your lubrication, all of that stuff is pretty well accessible and makes it pretty easy to maintain. And then as far as putting it back together, you just reverse what I just did and put your bolts in, and it's honestly quite simple. So this was an overview of the 6x6 600 Frontier in model year 2021. If you have any further questions, please just give us a call. Thank you.